What's up everybody, my name is Javier from Reviewed. Today we got the LeBron 19. We'll be doing a hands-on unboxing and a little bit of a review on the shoe. So let's jump right into it. So first, what you're greeted with is the actual retail packaging of the shoe, which is a little bit different this year than it was in the past. This year there's a little bit of a story telling element to the actual packaging, prior to the previous years where it was a little bit plain, maybe a signature here or there, but no frills of that nature. This time around, there's a bit of a cosmic Space Jam theme on the outside of the box, which is an obvious tie-in, which I would assume is an obvious tie-in to Space Jam, the movie featuring LeBron. What you'll see on the outside box is printed in a glossy paint where it's actually showing planets and things of that nature. It's a pretty cool looking story element to the actual packaging, but I enjoy it. When you actually move into the inside packaging and you're greeted by the tissue paper, and the tissue paper is really cool. There's little stories, little elements of things that may have been said to LeBron, positive quotes and maybe negative quotes, motivation. As you've seen in the past with LeBron, he's always gone on like revenge tours where people call him washed or whatever the case may be. So his goal is to prove everybody wrong. What you'll also see on there is his accolades, I would assume are his most cherished or most important to him, which is his Rookie of the Year, his 4 championships. So what I take from that is he's saying that his life is a carnival, he's a celebrity, no one can deny that. He's in movies, he's in Hollywood, and so his life is a circus, a carnival, everything's on display, everybody's watching him. And maybe I'm way off base, but that's the way I read it. His life is a carnival, and everything's for show, everything's on display. When you move on into the actual packaging beyond the tissue paper and obviously the shoes, you're actually going to find a little bit of an Easter egg. Easter egg is a ticket, a literal ticket for the LeBronable. So on one side you have the exploded view of the shoe, and on the flip side you have the iconology of the upcoming colorways. You have like an MPLS, you have Space Jam colorways, things like that. It's a pretty cool storytelling element of the shoe, of the packaging, and I think is a nice touch. It's a very different thing that they've done than in years past, and I'm all here for it. Now on the exploded view of the shoe, you have the normal text backs. You also have what I can only assume is the written out features of this shoe, but they're printed so small and illegible that I don't think it's intended for anyone to read, but you can make out what the technology of the shoe is just by looking at everything, the cushioning and the setup and all that fun stuff, the things that people are more excited about, in my personal opinion. So I zoomed in, I couldn't see what exactly the wording was. I just assumed it was explaining what the shoe was, and that was about it. Pulling them outside of the box, one thing that I noticed right from the start was how heavy the shoes were. Now, if you've been following the LeBron shoe line over the last 5 or 6 iterations, it's all been intent on making the shoe lighter, easier to play in, lighter for LeBron to play in, take flight, cut, whatever the case may be. They're supposed to be durable and light. This shoe has taken a kind of a step back and made them they're definitely durable, but they're not as light, and I mean, it's not a big deal for me. I don't mind. I'm a big, whatever the shoe is. And we know that the LeBron line has always been more or less a boot. They're not a shoe that you can wear casually. If you do try and do that, by all means, to each his own, but they're not necessarily a good looking shoe. This shoe in particular is a very good looking shoe, but in the years past, they haven't been a shoe that was intended to be worn on the streets. They've been more intended to actually play on the courts. So it's a bit of a difference in terms of the weight with the shoe. In terms of the design of the shoe is actually very gorgeous. It reminds me of the LeBron 9 mixed with a little bit of a LeBron 10. So the LeBron 9 silhouette is very apparent in terms of the DNA of the LeBron 19. When you look at the LeBron 10, you have the visible zoom air and that cushioning setup, and it reminds me a lot of that shoe as well. More so the LeBron 9. If you look at it from the side, it looks like not exactly like the LeBron 9, but it looks a lot like the LeBron 9. And that's not a bad thing. The LeBron 9 was a very good looking shoe overall. Moving on into the materials that was used on the shoe itself, you have what looks to be a ripstop upper. Now, I cannot confirm if it's ripstop. It looks like ripstop, but it does not feel like ripstop. It feels more durable than ripstop. I mean, in general, I enjoy ripstop, the material. This hat's ripstop. The LeBron 18 Low was ripstop on all of its colorways, as far as I know, and from what I've seen personally. But for me, it doesn't necessarily feel like ripstop, but it looks like ripstop. Whatever they're going to call it, whatever it is, it feels durable and it's going to hold up, I'm sure. You're going from the LeBron 18 where it was using Battle Knit. Year prior, they were using a Battle Knit and then a knit posit in the heel for the LeBron 17. The 16s were using Battle Knit as well. So this is quite a departure. I'm here for it. I like the way that the material feels. It feels like it's going to protect, the person in the shoes overall. In terms of the actual build of the shoe, you have a normal non-translucent outsole. You also have those air bubbles that I was not a fan of in the LeBron 18. All throughout the shoe, you have 2 air bubbles on the tongue again. The LeBron 18 had the air bubbles all up and down the tongue, and it pinched my foot, made the top of my foot go numb several times, so it wasn't necessarily the most comfortable thing, and to me, it just served as a gimmick more than anything else. And LeBron himself barely wore the shoe, so I think you can kind of read between the lines with that. They also decided to throw air bubbles along the ankle and collar area of the shoe. What purpose that serves, I have no clue, but I mean, it looks pretty decent. It looks pretty awesome, but it doesn't, as far as I know, it doesn't serve a purpose. So the cushioning on the LeBron 19 is Zoom Air in the forefoot, and you have a max airbag in the heel. The Zoom Air in the forefoot stretches all the way from the arch of the foot all the way to the tip of the toes. It's an incredible looking thing. I remember the production photos from Space Jam. I didn't really care for the movie. I didn't watch it, but I saw the photos of the shoes and I thought, man, that Zoom just looks incredible. In the heel, you have a massive Air Max bag, and you may think that Max bag looks familiar, and it is familiar. It's from the Air Max 2021. Everything, the shape of it is more or less the same thing as the Air Max 2021, just molded for the LeBron 19. So it's not a bad thing. It's a massive bag. It's Air Max. It's solid, it's firm. You don't really have a lot of feedback the way you would do with Zoom. So to each his own. If you do really love Air Max, it's all there. If you prefer Zoom, it's there as well. You have both those technologies built into the shoe, and it's a great thing. Upon my initial wear, what I noticed immediately is how firm that Air Zoom bag is. But once you walk around in it, and even if you play in it, what you'll notice is that once you break it in, you start to get more of that Zoom Air feedback that a lot of people enjoy, myself included. You play in it more, you walk in it more, whatever you do. I walked in it casually, and I felt it give a little bit more every day that I wore them. So when you look at the traction pattern on the shoe, it's a bit different. When you look at the actual pattern itself, it doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before, but there's always that storytelling element of the traction pattern, whether it be a signature or a logo or something of that nature. In this particular instance, what you have is a crown logo debossed into the traction pattern. So it looks like teeth if you really look at it, but when you look at it from the side or the silhouette of the actual traction pattern, it looks like crown logos or a crown. So I mean, it's obviously fitting. In terms of walking around, again, it's all casual. I haven't played in them. Just casually walking around, they do grip pretty well. But that's a far cry from anything I'm ever going to experience right now. What I would really need to do is test it out on the court, make cuts, do things of that nature just to see if it actually works. But for now, it seems functional, but we'll see. A couple of tidbits before we wrap up. On the outsole of each shoe, you have the LeBron logo and what Nike is calling crash pods. The print around the pods read, internal crash pod inflate at 12 psi. On the insole of each shoe, you see print that reads lift for Nike Air Access. If you lift the insole, which just so happens to be conveniently unglued, you see a little window showing you the reverse side of the crash pod. So the real question is, can you feel the crash pod? And the answer is, sort of. Looking further on the outsole, you'll see print scattered throughout, which just confirms to you that yes, there is zoom and yes, there is max air, both of which are inflated at 20 psi. You also have tubules leading from the zoom in the forefoot into the max air in the heel. The tubules feel pretty strong and they feel kind of like a plastic rubber, which should hopefully prevent punctures. So that wraps it up for this video. If there's anything you would like to know about the shoe that I haven't covered, please leave a comment. If you like the video, like it. If you don't like it, dislike it. If you really like the video, please subscribe. I look forward to putting out more content and learning about this process. Personally, anything I can get my hands on, I would like to review. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your day.